Hello, and welcome, ladies. I am so thrilled to be bringing on a special guest for this live today. So make sure that you are hopping in here and you are, first of all, hashtag live if you're watching live right now, hashtag replay if this is a replay for you, and please make sure that you are dropping in the chat your industry so we can make today relevant for you. But ladies, I know that you guys got a brief taste of what it was like to experience Anthony Vizzari last month when he came on and did our script masterclass, and it was so good. You guys begged for it. I think even one lady asked to have a little mini Anthony Vizzari that she can have in her pocket all day long at work. So you asked, we delivered, and we are having a second masterclass on Thursday with Anthony to go over something that he's so masterful at, which is pre-handling objections and knowing the exact framework of how to overcome objections. And I'm going to bring that feminine perspective for you. So we wanted to just take a moment and break down what we're going to do on that masterclass, help you out even before it gets to Thursday. So I want to bring up the legend, our chief of sales, Anthony Vizzari, to the stage. Anthony, what's up, man?
What's up? Kayla, thank you for that amazing. I'm not that cool, but I do appreciate the kind words from everybody.
Hi, I didn't say anything. The ladies were all over you, Anthony, last month. And I think that so many people had so much crazy breakthroughs because we didn't really plan anything. You kind of just went raw, real, and we just role played on the spot. And because it was so genuine and authentic, people got so much from it. And now we're here.
I think, I love doing these masterclasses, and we didn't plan to do another one, but the people ask, we deliver. So our mission at Seventh Level is to change the way sales are perceived. So I love doing these masterclasses where they're not pre-planned because it's raw. And the reason I love doing that is when you're on a sales call, you can't plan out the responses that the prospect is going to ask you. So when we're running these masterclasses and we'll pull up someone and maybe help them with an objection handle, or me and you do a quick role play that's not pre-planned, it's raw, it's real, and you get the genuine experience of what it's like when you're actually on a sales call.
Yeah, because it's kind of difficult when you think that you know what they're going to say and you think you have the objection handling ready, and then they switch gears on you. And if you don't practice what to do when they switch gears on you, you're going to be standing there like a deer in headlights. And unfortunately, it feels awkward, or you have rebuttal responses that just don't work, or they sound super scripted and awkward or pressury. And then you're standing there looking like a jerk or feeling awkward because it doesn't really feel good, but you're doing it anyway because it's what you've learned. And we're trying to break that standard and move into what it would be like if you can just learn how to make somebody feel safe enough to look inwards to where they're realizing that it would be more risky, if they didn't do anything at all versus purchase your product or service today,
Yeah, and I think this masterclass we're running on September 21st. So make sure everybody register. There'll be a link somewhere after this, so make sure you register so you can see me and Kayla, and we're going to be going over how to actually pre-handle objections and how to handle objections the NEPQ way, the 7th level way, to get the prospect to overcome their own objections. Now, when I was selling full-time sales in my first year of selling, it was very, very hard sell. It was very the buyers are liars, buy or die. And then by the time I get into objection handling, I told you this story before, Kayla, it was like a boxing match. And I would physically have to block out 30 to 60 minutes after every sales call, because I knew I would have been in a high intensity boxing match where I had to wind down before my next call. And I got very heated, and I didn't like selling that way. I don't think many people do, where you're trying to prove the other person wrong, or you're using the compare and contrast, oh, I need to think about it. And then you say, oh, but a minute ago you said you were committed. Are you not committed anymore? I used to do all of that. I used to do the old school method of objection handling.
Yeah.
But all that would do is create buying resistance. It would trigger resistance. So rather than me at the end, when someone gives me an objection, helping them overcome their own objection, or me being on the same side of the table, it was just me versus them. So
Mm,
maybe you're watching this right now, and when you get to objection handling, it's you versus them, and you feel really weird, and you just trigger more resistance. Me
mhm.
and Kayla on September 21st, we're going to be going over the Code Red objection handling framework, which I've personally used to sell a little over 20 million in sales in my few years of selling full time, and how we've able to help thousands and thousands of sales reps across 158 different industries, including yours, how to do this in a way where it's going to prevent the resistance from coming up.
Yeah. I think that you touched on a few things there, Anthony, that I think that most people just don't talk about anymore, which is about like old school way versus a way that actually might feel in alignment with, your values. I'm sure that you didn't say this, but I'm just assuming after you learned a new framework that worked with you, that you didn't really have to take those 30 to 60 minutes after each call to like calm down so that you could establish yourself to get back into the fight per se. Like,
Yeah.
because you have to take that time, I'm only guessing that maybe you were able to close a lot more and be able to not feel so stressed at the end of every single day.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So my calls used to go for around 90 minutes to 2 hours, like all of my sales calls. And a large chunk of that was the objection handling. I
Mm.
remember my longest sales call going for a little over 4 hours,
Oh my
and I was in
God.
the saddle. Like it was a pure definition of what a boxing match is. So
Yeah.
I'm in there not feeling good, it just made me at one point like just consider is sales for me, because I genuinely like to help people, right? That's why our mission is to change the way sales are perceived and help people. So when I'm at the end and I can feel like they don't see me and perceive me as being able to help them, it doesn't
Mm,
make me feel good inside. So, so one thing we're going to go over is how to have the perception when objection handling, what framework and how do you lead into that? How
yeah.
to have the prospect perceive you during objection handling as you're there to help them, not sell
Mm,
them. Where what most sales reps do, which is where the mistake is, the way they're currently handling objections, it it causes the prospect to perceive them as them trying to sell them something, take their money and get something from them. And
yeah.
that's why the resistance increases. So what we're going to go over on September 21st is how to handle those common objections. I need to think about it. I need to run it by my husband. I need to pray on it. Now's not the right time. Send me a proposal. I didn't know I needed to make a decision today. I don't have the funds for this.
Mm,
Why is it so expensive? All of the typical objections that I got and everybody else here gets, and I know you got them back in the day as well, Kayla. How do you overcome that in a way that you don't feel salesy and you actually, you're helping somebody? And then the biggest change that I really realized when I did this is I never feared getting objections. Because
mhm.
before, when you're asking for the prize, you're just kind of like hoping and praying and an objection doesn't come up. Now it's like,
Yes.
I don't mind that objection comes up because it just gives me an opportunity to help somebody overcome their objection.
Yes, absolutely. And you touched on, wanting to help somebody. As women, I think one thing that's really great is that we have this natural ability to be nurturing. Like, it's biologically in our nature. Like, we want to nurture, we want to take care of, like versus like a guy, like you want to provide, like you want to protect. It's just like we're wired that way. And one thing that we love to do is to like support and help. And so it's super discouraging and frustrating when we're just like, I'm just trying to help you, and yet they're having all this resistance to us at a call. If anyone else has ever felt like that, just drop me in the chat. If you ever felt like there's like resistance at the end, like you're just trying to help this person, and for some reason, like they're just not wanting to move forward, they're like putting their feet in the mud a little bit, and you're like, what the heck can I do? Yeah. So people are saying me. And what can we do here? I think that there's three different aspects of this. Number one is the framework, which again, we're going to go over Thursday. I put the registration link in there. So you need to make sure that you register for it because it's going to be epic. And there's only 500 spots allowed in that Zoom. So I think there might be a few seats left. So if you want to see, make sure you come on time so you can actually get access. And then the second part is having a framework, having the mindset of what to do there. Because what I realize, I don't know if you see this, Anthony, but people that are newer in sales are switching from an old school to a new school method. sometimes when an objection happens, they get so excited that they now know how to overcome this objection that it's almost awkward. Like they say the objection, they haven't even finished saying the objection yet. And you're automatically right there, like trying to challenge them and trying to overcome it versus allowing that space for them to just register what they're even saying right now. Because typically an objection is a result of like a fight or flight, and they're not even thinking yet. They're just like spitting something out of their mouth. And then you're like right there versus allowing that space. And I want us to talk about that. I want your opinion on that. And then the third one is pre-handling objections, so they can't even happen in the first place, which we're going to go over all three. But could you touch on that for number two, like just like the mindset there and like what you should be doing? I don't know if you also see this, Anthony, but I definitely see it, especially with people that are newer in sales or they're like learning something new and they just want to like use it and it's almost awkward.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to understand as well is like the old sales gurus and the old approach, it just doesn't work with today's buyers.
Yeah.
And I sold, pre-COVID and post-COVID. Even throughout those 4 years, I noticed a massive shift in the way the prospects would make decisions.
Yep.
A lot of people were fearful. I was selling through COVID in an industry where, the whole industry was shut down, and I was still able to have my record year during that industry, because I was able to get people to, really overcome their own fear once I learned this framework. So if we're selling right now, it's the post-trust era, as we call it. People are more skeptical and less curious than ever. Like they know that there's things out there, but their guards up. And you guys may feel this when you're on a sales call. It's like, do you ever get on a call and the prospect is very cold or standoffish, or they're not willing to open up to you, and they got a wall up and a barrier up, and then you get to the end of the call, you drop the price, and they just want to think about it. It's like, we're going to show you how to pre-handle that, and then how to actually handle that when it comes up in a way it's not salesy. But the old method doesn't work. And then the biggest thing I really realized, which is why I had to learn a new process, was our prospects had more sales calls than ever during that lockdown period of 2 to 3 years when the whole world was shut down. Everyone was home, everyone was bored. What were they doing? They were just jumping on sales calls and trying to figure out how to do things better. So the old school method just didn't work because they had heard that 1,000 times over from every other sales rep that's saying and doing the exact same thing. So if you're saying the exact same thing and you're using the same approach as every single other rep that they've ever spoken to, immediately, where does that put you? It puts you as a salesperson, because they put you in the same bucket as everybody else. So a lot of sales reps are coming in and it's not their fault. Like maybe you're watching this right now. It's not your fault that you're using the old approach, but it's your responsibility for your family and for yourself if you want to be able to make more commissions. And that's what we're going to be going over 3 p.m. On 21st. That's PST, which is 6 p.m. EST, which I'm really looking forward to, Kayla. We've got a few things in mind that I think is going to be able to help out everyone watching.
I'm excited, man. And we got the matching Burberry today. I have my shoes on. See your shirt. It's a clean shirt.
Cooler than me.
Oh my God, stop. I think that for people that came last time, I think one of the biggest takeaways, besides just the raw role play, where we were doing that, was just kind of like ahas of seeing it actually in action. I think that a lot of sales are over at hello, and you don't know what you're doing wrong unless you actually take like a bird's eye view and see somebody else do it and then kind of compare. The biggest thing that you can possibly do is take responsibility for, what you may not know, or take responsibility for what you possibly might be doing wrong, and remove your ego, to allow yourself to see like what is possible for you, and I think that the ego is the biggest thing that gets in the way of a sales rep's success, especially when you start making money that you've never made before. When you first start like tasting like what it could be, I see a lot of sales reps like turn off that hunger of really wanting to learn more and wanting to become more. And this is like an opportunity for everyone, whether you're starting brand new in sales, whether you've been there for a while, whether that, you've reached certain levels of income that you want and you have an opportunity to possibly make more, and making more isn't just the only thing. When you're making more, you're helping more people, right? So you're helping more people and you're making more money. Like, we're only a few months away for Christmas. And I remember when Christmas came and I would be like worried about how to buy presents for my daughter. Like, it would make me sick. Like, I would get to like November and I'm like, oh God, like I need to figure it out. And I know that there's women on this watching right now that are like, oh yeah, that's kind of stressful. Like, what it would be like if you just possibly like allowed yourself to get really curious on like what could you grow in and how could you learn more and how could you become more, so that you can acquire more skills, so that you're not having to worry about whether or not you can pay for something or not pay for something. And I'm just having a real conversation right now because I've been in those shoes and I know what it's like and I know it sucks. And I also know what it's like to feel like I know everything. Sometimes taking off that blinder and allow yourself to just be super curious, take notes. Like, what is one thing that you didn't know before that you can implement starting, on Thursday night? And learning and grabbing and taking a hold of that, because if you're not going to do it for you, who is?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing I really took away once I was able to shift away from the objection handling boxing match to learning a framework that worked with human behavior, not against human behavior, is you can apply it to any industry. I used to sell, in one industry, and I always felt, if I jumped industry, I wouldn't know how to sell, because it was very much on product and knowledge. That's the way I was kind of taught.
Yeah.
But once I learned a framework that worked with human behavior, and you could actually understand what you need to say and ask and what you need to do with your tonality, which we're going to be going over as well on our masterclass, is how you can use all of that, where doesn't matter what you're selling, as long as you believe in it, you're going to be able to persuade your prospect to help themselves. And then that's what I realized. Then I jumped to a few different other industries, and the framework worked. So whether you're selling, like, we train thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of clients in 158 different industries, whether you're selling cars, like medical device sales, maybe you're selling fitness, thousands of people in fitness, solar, financial services, B2B, B2C, maybe you're a cold caller, maybe you're selling the government, B2G, maybe you're in, life insurance. Like I said, we train tens of thousands of life insurance reps, all around the country and all around the world, training, high ticket coaching. Like, doesn't matter what industry you're in, the framework works because it's a framework, and it's a framework that you can adapt depending on what you're selling and who you're selling to. So that was the biggest thing for me, knowing that, hey, I've learned a skill and I've learned a framework that I can then apply to any industry. And this is one thing we see all the time, right? We have sales reps come through when they're seeking help, and does this work in my industry? But I sell this, or I sell that, or I sell to people in Antarctica. Doesn't matter what color hair they have, doesn't matter what they look like, where they live, doesn't matter what you're selling. It works because it's based on human behavior. So I think the biggest thing I want everyone to take away is, all right, how can you even just come, and you'll come to this masterclass, you'll leave with a framework that you can apply to your next call and make more sales.
Yeah.
That's my goal. So come, bring a pen and paper, take notes, listen, make sure you're there, make sure you're active. And also, I was going to say as well, in the live below, just drop us what industry you're in as well. I'm going to scan over it, Kayla. I'm going to see what industry everyone's actually in. And then we might even throw in a few specific industry examples.
That's a good idea. Right now I see health and life industry. We have financial planning, home security, tech, roofing sales, insurance. Yeah, let's go.
Life. Yeah, we train thousands in all of those industries. So pop below what industry you're in, and we'll give you some nuggets on specific examples and how to overcome them for your industry.
Coaching. Yeah, and drop them below what the biggest objection that you typically get is. Like, what's the biggest objection that you're getting right now every single week? It's coming up, it's showing up. Through car sales in the house as well. And, it's really interesting. Anthony, I did a podcast with Jeremy that it just aired yesterday, I believe, on objections, right? And we were talking about how objections, like, sometimes we get almost like fearful of the objection. And sometimes even when we start to realize how to pre-handle and we notice that people are like not even opening up on the call, like how to kind of go beneath the surface and kind of expose people there. Because what I think people don't understand is that they're actually in control of the call during the whole time, from the beginning to the middle to the end. And like, just because maybe the beginning was a little shaky doesn't mean that the call is over. Like, you can learn how to control it better. Like, when objections coming up, pre-handle some objections in the middle. They're kind of being surface level. You can get them to stop and be like, hey, like, between you and me here, and, off the record, what's really holding you back from really wanting this policy? So there's different tools that you can do. And we're going to give you as much tools as possible, because like, it's not completely over if you mess up one time. Like, this is a learning process. You get to learn, you get to mess up, you get to be messy, and just take as much as you can so you can apply it so you can get better every single day. Somebody said disposable gloves. I need to compare the quotes before I make a decision. That's an objection. I need to think about it. We need to have something with employee benefits if they're not interested. I'm just looking. Oh, they do employee benefits. The objection they get is, I'm not interested. I'm just looking. Oh, it's too much. It's too much. I need to compare the quotes before I make a decision. I said that one. What do you feel about too much, Anthony? Because I don't believe in that objection, but like, how do you feel about?
Well, it's compared to what? It's too much. Well, compared to what? Compared to what you have now, or compared to the outcome with what you're actually looking for?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, like, it really comes down to what's more riskier for you. Let's say I'm selling fitness, right? For example, and it's too much to get my $4,000 fitness package so I can lose weight. Well, what's going to happen if you don't, though? Like, what's going to happen if you don't actually get the training needed so you can lose 20 kilos, so you're not at risk of having a heart attack in the next 6 months, like your doctor said. So really, like, what's more risky for you? Is it more risky to, get the funds together to put into the training so that you can look in the mirror within 6 months and be happy with who you're looking at and know that you're not at risk of a heart attack? Or is it more risky to wake up every morning, look in the mirror, and seeing the exact same person you're looking at now, who's one heart attack away from not being there for your kids?
Jeez.
What's more riskier for you?
They put in the chat, somebody put in there, they're like, it's $130,000 coaching, right? So it's the same thing, regardless if it's 4,000 or 130,000. It's just about the risk and about how deep you are on that call in order to find the pain points of what are going to be the emotional drivers to make them want to close that gap. If you can give some clarity on what it is, but what's your thought process of like, oh, I need to do it different if it's 4K versus 130K?
No difference. It's absolutely no difference. And I've sold $5,000 programs, and I've sold $150,000, $200,000+ consulting programs.
Yeah.
I personally found it a lot easier the higher ticket I went.
Yep.
Now, the biggest thing as well is not to buy your own objection. Because if you're the type of prospect that feels like it's too much, right? Or you're the type of prospect, or the type of sales rep that, that's the objection that you kind of give, that it's always too much, or I don't have the funds, then you're going to induce that objection. And that's what I really want to cover in more in depth on our masterclass, is like, you're going to get the objections you give. Number one, it's not until you can overcome your own objections that you're going to be able to overcome your prospects' objections. And if you're getting it's too much, it means you haven't created enough value. And throughout your sales process, you haven't, uncovered enough problems to get the prospect to realize that it's more risky to stay where they're at. Because let's say you're selling $100,000 coaching program to business owners to help them make more revenue. They need to see in their mind that them giving you the $130,000 is far less risky than them staying where they're at, not getting the help, which is currently costing them a lot more than $130,000 a year. So, the biggest thing is not just how to handle objections. Once I learned this, I really understood, and I tied this into the start of the script and throughout the entire script. I learned how to pre-handle objections to the point I got to 95% of my calls, I would not get objections because they would come up maybe at the start, maybe the prospect was a bit cold. There was a door open. I would shut those doors and handle those objections along the way before I even dropped the price. When you know how to do this, because when you know what you're listening for, then you don't wait till you get the price to handle these objections. You pre-handle them so they realize that, hey, this is the best thing for me, my family, my business, whatever it is you're selling. So that's what I want to cover. It's not just, hey, how do I, that's what a lot of people teach. It's like, all right, I'm getting this objection. And I run the coaching sessions as well for part of our, advanced 3.0 and inner circle clients. The amount of new sales reps that join, they'll jump on my session, Kayla, and they'll say, hey, I got this objection at minute 63. I got to think about it, objection. How do I handle it? And they go and pull up the recording and start playing minute 63. And I say, pause. Play me the start of your call. I don't want to listen to minute 63. You already lost the sale.
Yeah.
Show me the start, because something you said or did not say, or something to do with your tonality, caused them to give you an objection in the first place.
Yep.
So I just want to make that point. It's not just about handling it. You got to know how to pre-handle, which we'll go over as well.
Yeah. We're not just trying to put Band-Aids on a wound.
No.
Right? It's going to help you like sew up the wound in the first place. And somebody mentioned also like maybe they weren't properly qualified also for like such a high ticket. Like if that's also the case, like there gets to be skills and tools that you have to like not go all the way in the call. Like if somebody's not properly qualified and they still get to my sales call, I wouldn't be spending 45 minutes on the sales call with them. I'd be asking certain questions that I would realize that they're not qualified and the first 10 minutes of the call, and I wouldn't be continuing to give them my time, not in a rude way. I would give them resources and be able to help and support the way I could at that moment. But I wouldn't be continuing past a certain point if I found out through the questions that I'm asking that maybe this wouldn't be the right solution for their problem, right? So there's different things that you're going to do by increasing your skill level. I think I mentioned earlier today, I was doing some content for our team, and we were talking about the scientific thing behind how many no's get to a yes. And I'm like, it's such a myth, right? If I gave you 100 leads and you're brand new and you're calling all these leads and maybe 10 answered, and out of those 10, 3 had a conversation with you, one person booked a call, and I gave a different, more experienced, more advancedly skilled sales rep another 100 leads, and they had 25 people answered, 15 people had a conversation, 5 people booked a call. Like they both expended the same amount of time. One person had more results. So it's not necessarily about the no's to get the yes. It's like how much skill can you have so you can have a higher quality in what you do, so you don't have to work so damn hard, and you can get higher levels of results.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be great, Anthony. I'm really excited. I thank you for being on here again. I put in the chat the link, so please make sure that you are registered for that. It is going to be epic. Come live, come ready, have a notebook, maybe some popcorn. It's going to be great. Anything that you want to say to anyone that's listening to this right now of, just maybe some tips for the next couple of days, because they're not going to have access to this until Thursday.
Yeah, I think firstly, I just want to say I really appreciate, number one, everyone that's watching. I know it's getting late, I guess, in the US. So I appreciate everyone that's here tuning in. And I also appreciate those that have registered, taking away time from your family to join a masterclass. It just shows that you're committed and you want to get better and you want to improve. I think the biggest thing to take away for the next couple of days before the session is really understand, like, how does the prospect perceive you? Do they perceive you that you're there to sell them, or do they perceive you that you're there to help them? And the best sales reps are genuinely there to help their prospects. They genuinely care for their prospects. They're not just there for a commission check. Now, you may genuinely care, but the script that you've been given or the way that you've been taught is causing the prospect to think the opposite. So even though you may care about your prospects and you genuinely believe in what you're selling, you're set up for failure. And like I said, it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility to fix that. So you're not like all those other reps that are just kind of, triggering the fight or flight or in the boxing match all day, every day. It's not a good place to be, and it eventually burns you out. So looking forward to helping you. And that's 3 p.m. PST, September 21st, 6 p.m. EST. I'll be there. Come early. Make sure you register. The Zoom maxes out at 500 for whatever reason. So
something. So
so make sure
you're on that. All right. Thank you so much, Anthony. Thank you, ladies, for coming. A few people are messaging saying that they saved their seat. So let's freaking go. We will see you on Thursday. I hope that you'll have a wonderful evening or morning, wherever you are in the world. And we will see you very soon, guys. Bye.
See you guys. Bye-bye.